Welcome to the Fill Your Cups podcast. We're your hosts, Morgan
and Bailey. Welcome, guys. Thank you for tuning in today. We are going to be doing kind of a fun episode. We're all about habits over here. So we're doing an implementing habits to get your shit together. It's right before the new year. We know that we're all, setting goals, but you can set goals all you want. But do you have a method of how to get there? Do you have habits that are going to help you succeed? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Yes. I'm really freaking excited because seriously, habits are how I started all of this.
Yeah.
So really it is. And so, I can't wait to get into it.
I mean, genuinely recording every weekend is a habit.
It's a habit.
So
Literally.
Well, before we talk about our shout out, What is filling your cup today?
I've got myself a nice little Starbucks coffee. Typical grande cold brew with caramel lining the cup. I don't even know how you would say that. Stevia and a splash of 2% milk. It's delicious.
Love it.
Your cup?
I have water and I have a black cherry Zevia.
Yummy.
Those are two of my faves. So
we haven't had water in a while.
I guess we've been doing cocktails.
Yeah, cocktails, coffee, Zevias. Wow.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep. So got my big old water bottle and a black cherry Zevia.
Yes, you do. I love it. Zevia kind of reminds me of our shout out for today. So we've got 3 separate ones. I know that's a random transition. But one of our shout outs is Tanner. Tanner, if you're listening to this, thank you so much. The Zevia is reminding me of you because you texted me a couple weeks ago being like, oh my God, just listen to your episode. I really want to try Zevias. What are your recommendations? Are you listening to this? Tell me what you ended up trying. Let me know if you like it. But Tanner Harris, Kaylee Caswell, and Mason Adrales, thank you guys so much. You guys all posted on your Instagram stories that we were on your 2024 Wrapped for Spotify. And that's so cool. I didn't even think that was going to be something that could happen.
I didn't know. So I'm an Apple Music listener.
Okay, yeah.
And Apple Podcast listener.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know that Spotify had Spotify Podcast Replay? No, it's Apple Replay. Spotify Podcast Wrapped.
They've never done it before.
Oh, this is the first year?
This is the first year.
What great timing!
I know! Oh my God!
That's so sweet. Okay, well, so my friend Alexandra also mentioned to me this week that we were like third on hers or whatever.
Oh, really?
So I just love, and I know we were third on Mason's. I think we were first on Keely and Tanner.
Yes, we were first on theirs. We were on mine, though. But I didn't feel like it'd be as fun to share that on my story.
I wish, though, that I had Apple, or that Apple had the replay for podcasts. Hopefully they'll come out with it since Spotify came out with it. But we definitely want you, though, if you're a Spotify listener and we showed up on your Wrapped, we definitely want to know that. Tag us on Instagram. We'll retag it, reshare it. That makes us so excited.
Yeah, it's so cool. I felt like a celebrity. I was like, oh my God.
Yes. So huge shout out to you guys who we ended up on your Spotify Wrapped. Also, that's a good transition to remind you that this is the final week that you can enter our holiday giveaway. So what we're giving away, we have shared this on our Instagram, but what we are giving away is a habit tracker and a copy of Atomic Habits, which we love. Both go really well with today's episode. And then a Fill Your Cups tumbler.
Yes.
So like a water
bottle.
Yeah, water bottle, water cup, whatever. Tumbler with Fill Your Cups on it. So we're really, really excited to send that out to somebody. And the way that you can do that, you can visit our Instagram page to see the nitty gritty of how you enter. But things like commenting and
following
and tagging us in your Instagram stories and
all easy things.
Yes. Those are the ways that you can enter, and we will announce the winner on next week's episode. So all of that out of the way.
Yeah, let's get into today's episode. So like I said, we're doing a habits episode, and we've only done a handful of habits specifically for the episodes. I feel like we always mention them because they are so important. But I personally love doing habits episodes because they are like my favorite thing to talk about. I can talk about them all day long. And we're going into the new year, so I know everyone's making goals. And so we have to be able to have the habits that support our goals, you know? So kind of to kick that off is that the thing about habits that people don't realize is that everything you do is a habit.
Mhm.
If you wake up and you brush your teeth in the morning, that is a habit. If you get home from work, you immediately take off your shoes and your bra and you go sit on the couch, that is a habit.
Mhm.
When you're eating dinner every night, that is a habit. So even if it doesn't seem like anything, it could just feel like a routine, but they are habits. It's whatever you're doing time and time and time again, kind of.
Yeah.
So what I want to talk about today is how we can kind of look at our current habits that we already have, figure out what are some habits that need to be improved, what are some habits that we want to implement, and what are some habits that like we want to cut out.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I just want to talk about that, talk about how to do that, talk about what habits Morgan and I have put into our own lives that have really improved our own lives and, helps get our shit together.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think that a big thing that people miss is that even if it doesn't seem like something that they've intentionally made a habit,
Mhm.
it still is one. Anything that
Yes.
you're doing consistently at the same time, like around the same time, in the same way, is going to be a habit.
Yes.
And I feel like when you realize that, it can either seem really draining or it can be super empowering because you're
Mhm.
like, oh, wow, those goals that I made, all I have to do is like adjust these daily things.
Yeah.
And once I've adjusted those daily things after enough days of doing that, then it adds up to that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love it. So let's get into it. My first thing I want you guys to do, and I did not come up with this, I did steal this from Atomic Habits.
Mhm.
Obviously, love that book, and whoever our winner is, I hope you definitely read it because it's like a life changer.
Yeah.
But the first thing I want us to do is I want you guys to literally list out every single thing that you do, start to finish, of your days. So
Wow.
I know it
Did
sounds
you
like
do this?
of course I did
Okay,
this.
okay.
Of course, that was like the first literal step in his book. Like, okay, you got to do this. So I just made a Google spreadsheet, and I literally, from the moment I wake up, so it's like 7 a.m. alarm goes off, 7:01 snooze alarm until 7:20 because I do that every single day. So I made sure to put that on there.
Mhm.
And it was like 7:20 alarm goes off, get out of bed, go into the bathroom, turn on straightener, or put in a hair clip. Like so, you literally just go from there. And now, of course, like some of your weeknights might look different. You might not do the same things every night. That's okay. I really just made like if I was living a totally normal day kind of
Mhm.
thing, and I made all of my habits for that day.
Mhm.
And you're going to go all the way until bedtime. It sounds like that's a lot to do, but really I was looking at it and I only have like 30 things on there. Cause it's like when you're at work, it's like work kind of thing.
Mhm.
Unless you have a really busy job where, I mean, you probably have more habits at your job than I need at mine. I have like 5 things that I have to do every day. That's like about it. So mine was a little bit shorter than probably most people's would have to be. But once you've done that and once you've listed it all out, then you're going to go through and you're going to label each habit as a bad habit, a good habit, or like a so-so habit.
Mhm.
So, for example, my first habit every single morning of snoozing my alarm until 7:20, I labeled it as a bad habit. So I was like, it's not good, and I literally do it every single morning. But then I labeled like a good habit as kissing Mason and Waylon every single morning before I leave. I was like, that's a good habit.
Mhm.
And those are one of the things that people don't think that those are habits,
Mhm.
but they are. So you go through, you do that, and then that can really give you a good breakdown of the habits you want to change, the habits you want to start, and the habits you need to get rid of. And that's where it really started for me.
Yeah, earlier, just because you know how I love alliteration,
Mhm.
earlier you said implement, improve, and you said cut out, but I feel like we could, to make it with the alliteration, we could say like empty or something like that. Yeah, so we're gonna say that we're going through our list and we're looking at what we want to implement, improve, or increase maybe,
Oh yeah.
and empty
Empty
out of our habit list. I feel like that would help me. Like, okay, we're gonna increase this. We're gonna start this, and we're gonna get rid of that.
I love that. I really like that alliteration. We love a good alliteration over here. That is so funny. I'm gonna pull up my docs spreadsheet real quick just so I can kind of, I don't know, like walk you guys through it. I think that makes pretty good sense, but I'll just give a small example of something that when I was going through all my habits, something that I wanted to implement was it was right after I am done brushing my teeth and doing my tongue scraper and mouth washing, which are all great habits for me. My next step was plugging my phone in the charger in the bathroom because I need my phone in the bathroom or else I won't get out of bed, even though I still snooze my alarm every single day.
Oh, gotcha.
But I decided in between there that I needed something else to help me do my day tomorrow. So what I went ahead and added in there was to choose a podcast to listen to the next morning. Because I always notice that in the mornings, I'll kind of spend a lot of time looking for a podcast, or I'll feel irritated if I don't have a good one to listen to, or like a YouTube video or something like that. So I decided if I can actually just spend a couple minutes the night before doing that, then I've already set up myself so much better for the next day.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that was something I decided I wanted to improve. Something I decided I wanted to empty from my life was when I get home from work, I immediately change into sweatpants. I immediately grab snacks from the kitchen, and then I immediately lay in bed, and then I'll either watch like TikToks or I'll read. But I decided it was a bad habit to lay in bed immediately every day after work. So that was one that I was like, okay, we're emptying that. And then obviously, like,
wait, did you empty it?
I did empty it.
You feel like you've been okay.
Yes.
And you would say that's no longer a habit.
No longer a habit. Sometimes I'll do it still if I'm like really exhausted, but it's like I know I'm gonna go take a nap.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I'll get home. We've talked about this before, but instead I replaced that habit with packing my lunch for the next day of work and then like playing with Laylan, going into Mason's office, talking about his day instead of just going and laying in bed. So yeah, so I don't know. Those are just some examples of mine. If anybody wants to see like my list, because you don't really know where to start, I can send it over to you. It's literally it was a little bit more than 30 habits. I had 105. But
oh god.
105 lines. But guys, I'm talking literally one line is go into the bedroom. Next line, go to the bathroom. Next line, use makeup wipe. Next line, wash face. Like,
wow.
I'm not kidding.
Did you
it's like broken down.
Was this when you read Atomic Habits?
Yes.
Or was this like for this episode?
No, it was when I read Atomic Habits.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, he tells you to do that. And I took it very seriously and then started implementing, and like that's what we're going to kind of talk about in this episode as well, like habits that we have started in our own personal lives that have really helped, and like hopefully people can get good ideas for themselves. But yeah, completely did it one day at a coffee shop. Like Mason and I were doing our monthly reset or something, and I was like, okay, I need to make my habit list, and then he did that, and I think he even made his own habit list too because we were doing it at the same time. And
nice. I did not do that whenever I read Atomic Habits, but I do think that it is a good analysis, and I've seen a lot of the time. Have you seen in books, like personal development books, where you look at what percentage of your time you're doing certain things, like watching TV or spending time on your phone or whatever, things like that.
Yeah.
It's like kind of a similar thing. Like you're putting a lot of your life into this, and do you want to be?
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's more of a nitty gritty version.
Yes, it's like the real breakdown of what are you doing every day and do you like it?
And honestly, does not take very long.
No, it seriously took me less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, so easy assessment to make.
Very, very easy. Absolutely easy. How do you feel like you like start your own habits, and like, because obviously you didn't make the spreadsheet or anything, which is not something everyone has to do, but I know that you implement habits really well. So what do you think works best for you?
Yeah, so for implementation or starting a new habit, I think that for me, the biggest things that make a difference for me are getting some skin in the game, which I can either do that by telling somebody about it, because that immediately ups the ante for me. I'm like, I have to, it's accountability, right?
Yeah.
So if I tell Jared that I'm going to start doing something, or I'm going to stop doing something, well, we'll just go starting, because we're in the implement section. But if I'm going to start doing something, he's obviously gonna know if I am or am not.
Yeah, and he might ask you.
And when I first started like on my health and fitness journey, sharing on social media helped me a lot, because when I was implementing something new and I was saying I'm gonna go do this on my social media, I was like, well, I better follow through.
That's even more accountability.
Yeah, so I feel like upping the ante, whether that means telling somebody about it for accountability, or even maybe spending a little bit of money on something, like finally buying the gym membership, or buying for me, it was like an at-home workout program, because I did not have any form of habit of exercise for the longest time. And so that's the first one I would say that I started with. And then since then, I have lots of other habits that I've developed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that starting that, and even like, when I started trying to do reading an hour before bed or whatever, or just no screens an hour before bed, when I started to implement that habit, around 8 or 8:30, because I usually go to bed at 9, 9:30. 8:30 really.
Uh-huh.
Jared would be like, "Oh, do you want me to turn the TV off?" And
Oh.
even if I like, once you tell someone that and you actually start doing it and kind of keeping that promise to yourself, and then they see you keeping that promise to yourself, when they're like, they notice. And even if I was like, man, I really would have watched more TV and kind of broken that good habit that I started, he's kind of like, "Oh, well, do you want me to turn the TV off?" And then I'd be like, "Okay, yeah."
Like,
You know, yeah. So I feel like for me, when I start a habit, I have to get some sort of accountability or up the ante somehow. And that is one of the biggest things. And then the second biggest thing, which I know is going to come as such a shock, is tracking. Because, and the example I can think of for that is when I started my flossing routine. I tracked it every day for a whole year.
Really?
Yes, and I flossed my teeth. I think it was less than 300. I mean, it was less than 365. It was like 342 or something days of the year. But I kept an actual habit tracker, like the one that we're going to do in our giveaway.
Okay, exciting.
And I tracked it every single day of every single month. I put whether or not I flossed in the morning. And so for me, when I track something and I can actually see the progress there, that's another thing that actually helps me implement or start a new habit.
Those are really, really good ones. I love that you mentioned the habit tracker, because I was thinking whenever you said like up the ante, one of my first things with that, like I started a new habit with, was drinking more water. And the only way I was successful at that is because I bought a really cute water bottle.
Yeah.
I just always wanted to hold with me, always wanted to have on me at all times. And after that, I was just drinking water constantly because I always had it.
Yeah.
So now I'll always tell people if they're like, I don't like water, or I'm so bad at drinking water, I'm like, you got to get a really cute water bottle.
Yeah.
Like, you got to get one that you really love. And obviously that's easy to carry. But
that's so true. And honestly, it works for the tracking method too, because I bet that before, when you were just drinking water here, there, a cup here, there, you had no idea how much you were drinking.
No.
A water bottle here, there, whatever. But I bet you know exactly how much your water bottle holds.
40 ounces.
Yeah. Yep. So it's way easier for you to be like, oh, I finished 2 of these. I've reached my goal for the day.
Yes.
Versus like, if you're just willy-nilly, like, I'm going to drink a cup of water here, a cup of water there, you could be drinking 80 ounces one day and 40 the next, and you have no idea that it's that different. You just feel like you're drinking more water. So that's why tracking is so vital, I think, for any new habit that you're going to do.
That is true. That is really true. I like it. Yeah. Hopefully, I've never really used a habit tracker, but maybe I'll get one whenever we do our little giveaway. I feel like I would like it.
I like it. The thing I liked about the habit tracker that I use is, so it goes monthly and you can change which habits you want each month. So for me, flossing was on every single month, every single page. But some months I was like, you know what? This month I'm going to work on my screen time, or this month I'm going to work on 10,000 steps, or this month I'm going to work on 100 ounces of water, or whatever. And so you can kind of change it based on what you're focused on for that month.
Yes.
And then you can put, you know, I want to do this 3 times a week or whatever. And you fill in the days of the week or whatever. And at the end, you can put how many times you actually did that.
Yeah.
So, and it's just a super easy visual representation, and it feels good. And I'm sure there's some release of serotonin or something
whenever you see the number.
Yeah. And so yeah, I feel like, obviously I feel like tracking is vital, but I feel like mostly it's just for the sake of, sometimes we can say we're going to do something and we kind of maybe sort of so do it. And then we feel like, gosh, I'm trying so hard and I'm working so hard at this, but you actually have no idea if you're actually completing your goal.
That's so true.
And so until you actually know how much you're doing, you won't feel happy, because you'll sometimes be maybe doing it fully and sometimes not. So
absolutely. So wait, what did you say that it really got me thinking about something? What was it?
Like maybe doing something so versus fully, or.
Oh, yes. No, it was the tracking. We just had like our weight loss episode recently.
Yes.
And I remember like we had the analogy kind of not really analogy, but like the metaphor of you'll think that because you ate really well on like a Monday and Tuesday and you got a lot of steps, then Wednesday you're treating yourself to some ice cream.
Mhm.
Thursday you're like, wow, I did so good this week. I'm gonna eat pizza for dinner, and then it's the weekend. It's like, really, you only did it 2 out of 7 days. But once Sunday hits, you're like, I don't understand why nothing worked. I did so much, and it's like, well, you actually only really did 2 days because you're not tracking.
Because you really truly just have no idea, and you can't even look back. That's the thing.
Yeah,
we talked in our weight loss episode, and we won't get super nitty gritty into it because we did in that episode. So go back to that episode if you want to. But whether you're tracking calories like you do or you have, or whether you're tracking like I do, which is more kind of general sense of foods that I'm eating, like either way, you're not tracking anything, so you can't go back and inform yourself like, oh, I, maybe roasted broccoli and chicken or rice or whatever works better for me than eating restricting and only eating like one piece of pizza and some salad or something. Like those don't work the same for me, And so I don't know. I just think that, or binge drinking all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that is a harsh reality, honestly, that at some point I had to like face. I was like, especially as you get older, not that either of us are old, but especially
I don't know. I got kicked off of dad's insurance, so I'm kind of up there. I'm just kidding.
But as you get older, I truly do think that the influence of alcohol makes such a big difference, especially in retaining weight.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's literal poison to our bodies. And we're not drinking it on this episode, but we will again in the future, I'm sure. So I'm not saying alcohol is totally bad, but if that's like a habit that you are wanting, I guess, to empty or just decrease or whatever. Yeah. If that's a habit that you're wanting to decrease so that you can implement other habits that are more healthy for whatever goals that you have, then tracking truly is, I think, such a helpful tool.
Yes, it really is. I noticed a couple weeks ago, well, not a couple weeks ago, but a couple months ago, I noticed I was having a glass of wine every single night.
Yeah.
And
habit. It was a habit.
It turned into a habit. Yeah. Like I didn't even know that it was. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I really have, I've gone through like 4 bottles of wine this month. And that's not like, that totally was normal for me a long time ago. That's not really normal for me anymore. Yeah. But I was having a glass of wine every single night. I was like, I really got to stop this. It's not a good habit. Even though like it was fine, it wasn't really affecting me that much. But I was like, I just know it's not a good habit. So I improved it by putting water into my wine glass instead. So I felt like I was still doing it. Or like, your Poppy or your Olipop or whatever you're wanting to do in there instead of the wine.
Yeah.
So, changing those habits are always so good. It's so good to pay attention to your habits.
Yeah.
And to know what you've got going on.
So I feel like the next section, or wait, are you good with implementing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like the next section of improving you were talking about is almost like replacing a habit, like taking an old habit and making it into something new. Like you, instead of pouring a glass of wine each night, pouring yourself a glass of sparkling water or whatever in your wine glass was an improvement on the habit that you already had. Yeah. But still left you feeling maybe just the same pleasantness, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't like a bad habit. It's not one that you had to empty, but it's also not like a new one that you had to completely start. Yeah, you just improved it, and you more like align it with what you're wanting to be and what you're wanting to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I love doing those ones. I think, let's see, one of the ones I had on mine. Oh, I forgot about this, but I would normally, because I shower at night. And when I wake up, and I don't blow dry my hair or anything, so when I wake up in the morning, my hair is always like a crazy mess, kind of how it is right now if you're watching. But I will always straighten my hair in the morning, and I noticed that I was never doing my hair because I don't wake up with enough time, and I would just hate doing it. So a lot of times I would just throw it in a hair clip. So I improved that habit by moving it to the night before. So if I was in a shower, I moved up my shower by like an hour. So that way my hair could be dry before I go to bed, straighten my hair the night before, or do my hair however I was going to do it, with whatever heat I was going to put on it. And then that way in the morning, I'm like ready to go.
I like that.
Isn't that a fun one? And that's like instant improvement.
Yeah.
I shifted things around to however would work better for my schedule.
Yeah, I feel like a good question that you could ask yourself if you're finding yourself in a habit that is not serving you, you're like, every day, I think I'm going to get up and do my hair.
What's stopping you?
But also every day I snooze my alarm and I don't have enough time or whatever.
Yeah.
So in the improvement, you can ask yourself, okay, what could I change the time of this? Could I change the like some of the contents of this, like with the wine versus water?
Yeah.
Could I rearrange things a little bit? Like it doesn't have to empty, it doesn't have to go totally away. You don't have to cut it out.
Right.
But it is something, and you don't have to change your whole entire.
No.
You don't even have to change your morning now. You just adjusted your night, which for you made more sense.
Yeah, because I'm so much more likely to do things at the nighttime than I am in the daytime. And really all it did was push back like my TV watching time. I had to watch it while I shrink my hair.
Which might have also been a habit that you wanted to improve anyway.
It sure was. That definitely had a sad face on my Google spreadsheet, which was supposed to mean bad habit.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like with my nutrition, I did some improvement at some point where especially with these aligners, it's become like key.
Yeah.
Where I can't just like snack mindlessly. And I know that one big thing that helped me a lot was the phrase dinner and done was something where before I would just like sometimes on a random night, like, or a lot of the times I would be like, I need something sweet. And I would wait until like 9 o'clock or something. And then I would have like a piece of chocolate or have like whatever, something like that. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing to do, but I do think that for me, digestion wise, it is better for me to have to stop eating dinner most nights after dinner and then not eat again until breakfast, like breaking my fast or whatever. And it didn't mean that I had to necessarily like cut out the little piece of chocolate I was eating or something. I feel like this is just one thing that I learned about myself. I was like, if I'm going to have a sweet tooth at the end of the night, I'm going to know at the end of dinner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus nights where I really don't have a sweet tooth, I know by the end of dinner whether or not I'm craving something sweet. And if I curb that craving, I feel like at dinner where I have like that little piece of chocolate or whatever, instead of putting it off till 9 o'clock or 8:30 or whatever, then I take care of that craving right there. Yeah. And then I don't worry about the rest of the night. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, dinner and done. Like, move on. So I feel like that's an improvement that kind of my aligners kind of forced me to do, but also has helped because it's like I'm learning more about myself, I guess, being more in tune with myself when it comes to that as well. So I would say that would be an improvement.
Definitely. It's like the same with my wine. You didn't cut it out because you necessarily thought it was a horrible habit and it wasn't really affecting you, but you were like, that's not what I want to do. Yeah. And so you adjusted it and you made it realign with who you want to be and what you want to be doing and what's important to you. I love that habit. Let's see. Next one, we'll go on to our emptying. Oh. So the emptying the habits. This is probably the hardest one. But I feel like when you have a bad habit, it's not like you necessarily want to keep up with your bad habit. Yeah. It just can sometimes be the hardest ones to break because they're the easiest ones that you can slip into of the bad habits. So, for example, my laying in bed every day after work, I personally felt like it was a bad habit. It might not be for everybody else, but it was for the way it worked in my life. And I had to work on that one. I had to work on kind of hyping myself up while I was on the way home to know that, okay, you're not just going to get to lay in bed. You do need to still be social. You do need to, you still have a house that's relying on you to do things for it. And I just knew that was when I kind of needed to cut out. And so you just got to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you think gave you the success of
I think it's like the replacement of it, which I kind of feel like could be the improvement, except that I wasn't even going nearly along the same lines. So for me, instead of directly laying in bed, I would directly pack my lunch for the next day. So that was a habit that I added in that I was like, I don't do this, but I should start doing this. So I'm going to scratch out laying in bed and I'm going to put this habit there instead.
Oh, okay. I love this. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no.
Because I feel like I hear a lot that when you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else, whether that's good or bad. So when you're saying no to packing your lunch, you're saying yes to laying in bed or whatever, and vice versa. Yeah. So whenever you said no to laying in bed, you were making room to say yes to something else. Yeah. And so I guess maybe with these emptying habits, something that you can ask yourself is if there's something that you want to stop, what are you going to start instead?
Yes.
Because not necessarily that you have to add a bunch of new habits in order to stop other habits. That could be overwhelming. But if you're saying no to that, you have the freedom to say yes to something else.
Yes, I really like that. Yeah, so it doesn't even have to go as far, like you said, of adding a completely new habit, because packing the lunch for the next day, that's like a pretty big habit. And that was one that I wanted to implement somewhere. But if I wasn't going to pack my lunch for the day, I'd go into Mason's office and talk to him. And like I cuddle and pet Waylon. Whereas before I was going straight into my bedroom and like kind of told them honestly that they couldn't talk to me. Because I was like, I'm going to need some time. I really can't do this right now, blah, blah, blah. And so then like, I don't really feel like that was great for us. It wasn't horrible, but I didn't feel good about it after a while. And I should change this up. So yeah, even if you're not starting a completely new habit, you're just doing something instead that feels better to you. And that matches more with who you want to be.
Yeah. I think I've said this before, but one of the influencers I followed at some point when specifically on fitness journey was she said that in the morning she would kind of repeat to herself, I want to change more than I want to stay the same. I guess.
Oh yeah.
I guess. And so
I have talked about that one before.
Yeah. So I feel like when you determine that it's more important to me to change this habit of getting in bed every day, you have to decide that changing is worth more to you than staying the same. Like whatever it is that you're keeping the same, whatever habit that is keeping you kind of in that rut or in whatever tempting, desirable, whatever place, like it truly is a temptation or desire or whatever. That's where bad habits come from. Yeah. And so you have to desire changing more than desiring staying the same. So I feel like you have to remind yourself of that too.
Oh, absolutely.
Whenever
especially at the start of a habit.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like one that I had to empty a while ago was I got into this habit. I don't even remember what the time frame was, but it was kind of a while. And it was kind of like your wine one where it just kind of like crept up on you.
All of a sudden you look and you're like, well,
yeah, it wasn't something that was like a intentional thing, but on Sunday nights I would get really bad Sunday scaries. And I know I've told you this before, but I go to bed before Jared almost every single night, and then on the weekends sometimes we go to bed at the same time, but still a lot of the time I go to bed before him. But for whatever reason, for a while, almost every Sunday I would be like watching the Chiefs game, drinking, whatever, and then it would get to be later and later and later than I normally stay up, especially on a school night. And and when I worked the next day, and Jared would be like, I think I'm gonna go to bed, and then I'd be like, oh no, and then I'd be like, whatever, I'm staying up, and I would stay up so late. And then the next day, of course, I wouldn't feel great. I would feel, even if I wasn't hungover, I was like tired, and sluggish, and definitely not my best self. All of
Didn't sleep well.
Tossed and turned, went to the bathroom 40 times. You know what I mean? And so I just probably snacked way more than I wanted to because I get drunchies like nobody's business. And so and it was like, I did it once or twice, and then all of a sudden it was like almost every Sunday I was doing this. And I felt like the first step was just realizing that it had become a habit.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when things like that creep up on you, you're like, oh, I only do it every once in a while. But it's like, actually, I'm doing this every Sunday.
Yes.
Even though that's only 1/7 of the week, that is a lot of days of the year.
It is. And really, it changes your Mondays. So it's like a 2-day thing.
It really, yes, really. And so I feel like just acknowledging and realizing, being self-aware enough to be like, this is a habit. This is a routine of mine at this point.
Yes.
Do I want Sunday scaries, drinking too much and staying up late and being hungover Monday to be a routine of mine? No.
No, I do not.
No. So, and then the second part is like desiring something else more. And so I feel like when I say no to Sunday scaries, staying up late, being drunk and hungover the next day, I'm saying yes to sleeping better. And I'm saying yes to having better thought process the next day at work. And I'm saying yes to not feeling like hungover or bloated or whatever the next day. So I feel like that's something that can come into play whenever you're emptying something. When you are trying to empty a habit, that it's so important to remind yourself what are you saying yes to instead?
Yeah.
Like, what is that making room for you to say yes to? And then keep your eyes there.
Yeah, keep your eyes there. Keep your focus there. Keep going forward. I really, really like that mindset. I think that those are really like the 3 categories that we talked about.
Mhm.
I'd love to go through and kind of tell you guys just about some habits that I have implemented, just
Yeah.
in case you're not quite sure where to start or you think that they have to be huge. Because my favorite thing about habits is that they can be so small. It makes such a difference.
Yeah.
So some of them that I've really gone through, and I don't know if you had any off the top of your head, but I could just list them or
Yeah,
go every other.
I could tell you my habits. I
Excellent.
do them all the time.
Excellent. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Well, I really just have small ones that
Mhm.
made my day so much better. So
Mhm.
for my first one, I've talked about this all the time, is my daily laundry. So doing some type of laundry step every single day, whether that's putting it in the washer, putting it in the dryer, or folding it. So I do some type of laundry step every single day because I was noticing it was just getting way too piled up. And then I was spending my entire Sunday doing laundry. And that became a habit that I was like, I hate this. I hate this so much.
Yeah.
If I miss doing laundry, or if I'm busy on Sunday, the laundry does not get done. And I was like, this is not sustainable. We have no underwear to wear. I need to really change this up. So I really changed it up. And I think that I get so nervous about people hearing my habits and thinking that they sound really big or thinking that they sound like a lot of work, because it's not at all. It's way less work doing it continuously and doing it like habitually than trying to panic and doing it all at once.
Yeah.
And they talk about that in Atomic Habits too, that you have way more actual free time if you have habits.
Yes.
And it sounds the opposite. But that was a huge one that I always did, or that I really started implementing. And I think that was probably the first big habit change that
I feel ya.
I made in my life. And so it always is number 1 on my list.
Yeah.
Love it.
Obviously, movement is something that I really, really value, but
Mhm.
something that I've gotten into the habit of doing in like the last year of
Mhm.
implementing habits is my digestion walks.
Yes.
So I know I talk all the time about how we walk Eddard every morning and every afternoon.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, actually, he's probably like itching for one right
Oh
now.
no.
But anyways, these little like digestion walks that I take, I literally pace around my house like a crazy person.
Mhm.
But they help scientifically with like digestion and getting my energy back, so I don't have like the afternoon slump after lunch or
Yeah.
thing, or after dinner, and I'm not like fried at the end of the day, whatever.
Mhm.
But I do think that is an example of something that I was like, okay, I want to implement this, 1, to get my steps in for the day, 2, to help my digestion. But also when I started to implement it, I did constantly feel like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But then now that it's become a habit of something, I like kind of look forward to it.
Yeah.
My body definitely feel like after I eat or something, like my body definitely feels like restless, you know?
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's encouragement for when you do start a new habit. Like the first few times of it, I bet for doing laundry.
Yeah,
like,
I was like,
the
this
first
sucks.
few times-
Why did I think of this?
Yeah, it's hard at first.
Mhm.
So the beginning of it is hard, but then once you get in the routine of it, I agree with you that it just becomes your regular thing. And
Yeah.
not thinking about that
Oh, yes.
makes room to think about other things.
Yes, completely. Yeah, the decision fatigue is so real, and like it's very real. But then whenever you have the habits that basically tell you what to do, you don't have to think about it anymore. You just do it. I love that one. One of the habits I really started, and I forgot that I haven't always been doing this until I looked at my Google spreadsheet today, but cleaning up my space before I go to bed. Forgot that I used to have such a messy room constantly, and it would just be clothes really, or whatever was on my bedside table after I was laying in bed after work. But I started cleaning up my space before I went to bed. So when I would change out of my pajamas, they used to just be on my bathroom floor, or they used to just be in my closet. So I literally just started picking them up and putting them in my laundry basket. And it makes such a difference. Or like we would spend a lot of time in the living room, or have like a date night, or watch a movie in the living room. And then we keep everything out on the table. And then the next day I wake up and I'm like, it's a pigsty in here.
Yeah.
It doesn't get cleaned up until my Sunday, when apparently I'm trying to do everything.
Yeah.
And so that was one that I really started doing. And like I said, I can't believe I haven't always been doing this, because it's such a key part of my life now.
It's so simple.
It's so simple.
I-
Picking up my pajamas. So simple.
I have a similar one where after dinner, me or Jared, but we immediately put the dishes in the dishwasher or wash the dishes, put dinner away, whatever. And it used to be that some nights we would be like, okay, we put dinner away. And some nights we would clean out the dishes in the sink if we felt like it.
Yeah.
And then some nights we wouldn't. But any morning that I came to the kitchen and the sink was full, I was like, oh my gosh. And I didn't even
feel good.
No, it doesn't. And the thing is, it takes less than one song of Taylor's 10-minute All Too Well, Taylor's version. It takes less than one round of that to do. And so it's just one of those things like when you were saying, and I don't want people to think, oh gosh, this is too much to implement.
Yeah.
It's like actually when you just do it right there while you're thinking of it, and when you decide, when you make the decision, I'm going to do this every single time.
Yeah.
It leaves so much space for other things. Like it just kind of it removes that off of your checklist of something I have to do in the future.
Yes.
And just gets it done right now.
Yes.
And it truly does not take very much time.
No,
Just
not
to
at all.
tidy up.
That's a habit I really, really want to start. But Mason's in charge of the dishes and I never do them. But I know that it can really get on his nerves. Like if the sink is full, it's going to get on anybody's nerves.
Yeah.
And so I know that he'll get easily agitated by that. And I'm like, we should just really start putting away our dishes as we go. But that's not when he's fully hopped on board yet. And I'm like, listen, it's your habit. So
yeah.
I'll
Ours
let
is
you do that one.
specifically dinner. We do during the day put stuff away or put things in the dishwasher after breakfast or lunch. If we think of it, that's a little bit more haphazard. But at the end of the day specifically, so that
up everything.
Yeah, so that at the next morning, I just don't want to walk in.
Yeah.
And see dishes.
Yes, perfect. That actually goes into my next one of the next morning. So I have a habit that I will set out my work clothes for the next day or, whatever clothes I'm going to wear the next day. And it helps so much because I would spend so much time in the mornings panicking about what I'm going to wear. I'd have an idea in my head and then put it on. It looks horrible. And then I was late all the time. And I was like, I can't afford this because I'm snoozing my alarm for 20 minutes. So, and that's still a habit I haven't changed. But to help with me running late, I started putting out my clothes the night before. And it only takes a couple minutes. And then I know immediately what I'm going to wear in the morning. And it's so much easier.
Yeah.
Decision fatigue, check.
Yeah. I have a work habit that I feel like would apply well because in my job, I recruit donors for blood drives.
Yeah.
And one of the ways we do that is through emails. And I will send emails to anybody who has donated at a previous blood drive to the next upcoming one at the same place. And when I first started, I didn't really have the best system. I quickly found one because I was like, this is crazy. But I didn't have a good system of when I did emails because I would be like, well, I'm going to do them 1 week out from the blood drive, but I have blood drives any day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So then I would be doing like 2 emails Monday for the week out. And then I would be like doing 2 emails Thursday or whatever. But then it was just too spread out. And some days I was in the office and some days I wasn't. And so for the most part, Mondays I work from home. And so now I just do every Monday morning, like the first thing on my list is all my HemaConnect emails that I send out for any blood drive like upcoming.
Yeah.
And I have it on my calendar, but it really is just a habit at this point that I get into that system, look at what's upcoming, and then I just send those all out at once so that it's, again, one of those things where when I just do it all at once, then I don't have, it's off my list and I don't have to think about Thursday. Oh my gosh, should I send an email out for next Thursday? I'm like, no, I know I did all of that Monday. So it's taken care of. And those, they truly are like a really quick type of thing.
Yeah.
They don't take a long time. But those are the things that you put off the most because you're like, I can do it anytime.
Yes.
And I feel like that's why our house has become messy too. Because you're like, oh, I can do that anytime. And you pass by the dirty sink 400 times and you're like, oh, I'll do that. I'll take 5 minutes later and do that.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you just do it now, then it empties you of having to do it later.
Yes, 100%. And it empties like the panicking of whenever you realize you actually have
and
to
did I do that? And because when it's a habit, you know that you did it. You're not like, did I do that? Did I not?
You're like, check.
Yeah.
Love it. One of my next habits, I only have like 2 more that I'll share with you guys, but one of them I already kind of shared earlier was packing my lunch for the next day. And the reason that works so well for me is because I meal prep. So I already have my lunches ready to go for the next day, but I will literally get home from work, take my lunch box, take all my lunch out of it, pack it immediately, and then put it right back in the fridge. If I do not do that, I will forget my lunch. I will forget my string cheese. I'll forget my water bottle. Like I'll forget something the next day or all of it all together. And then by lunchtime, I'm either starving or I'm spending money or I'm having to come back home to grab it. And like, then I only have a 5-minute lunch. So yeah, packing my lunch before work and doing it the day before. I guess, does that make sense? Yeah. So packing my lunch the day before for the next day of work.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. That one's really changed up everything for me. And that started whenever I cut out my habit of laying in bed.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
I was struggling to think of another habit. I think that this would be one. It wasn't intentional necessarily, but every time that we grocery shop on Sunday, now when I get home, I used to put off washing and cutting my produce for the week. And I feel like it has made such a difference that even though, I don't know, it's this weird thing with habits like this that you dread doing them. Like even packing your lunchbox, I'm certain some days you're like, oh, I just don't want to do this. But then it's just 5 seconds.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's so silly, but I will intentionally cut up zucchini to freeze and put in my shakes and stuff. So I'll intentionally leave the zucchini out, leave the fruit out, whatever, cherry tomatoes or whatever I got that week. And I will make sure to wash them and then cut them and then put them away right there.
Nice.
And it's so funny because it takes seriously not long at all, but it's something that I don't want to do. But because it's a habit, it alleviates me for the rest of the week. I don't have to think about, do I have zucchini to put in my shakes, or oh shoot, I forgot to freeze it, or I forgot to cut it, or whatever, or oh, I can't pack fruit in my lunchbox because I haven't washed it yet, like and so it is super alleviating.
Yeah, I like it so much because obviously I'm a habits lover, but like drinking your shake every morning is a habit that you want to do, so you had to make another habit to keep up with that. Because you're way more likely to skip it because you don't have the zucchini, or you're way more likely to now be in a rush in the morning because you have to cut it up before you leave. And so, that's the beauty of now habits, is it prepares you better.
Yes.
And then it's almost like habits prepare you for the other habits, which prepare you for the other habits. Like it's big, it's the habit cycle kind of thing. Cycle. My last one, and this one's going to be kind of silly to everybody, but I self-tan every Sunday and I love it so much. And it's a habit that I'm really into, and I don't really like being super pale. I don't feel my best self when I'm pale. So every Sunday after my shower, which has also made me start shaving my legs every Sunday, which is really nice because I never used to shave my legs. And then I'd be really insecure every single day about it, but I'd never do anything to change it up myself. And honestly, I don't even like the way it feels whenever I do have hair, but I mostly do until Sundays. But I'll shower, shave my legs in the shower, and then get out, and I'm self-tanning that night. And I know that I'm doing it every single Sunday, and it's not something I have to think about anymore.
We're recording this on a Sunday, so will you be doing that when you get home?
I absolutely will be. Yes. Yep. I'll have to do all my little Sunday chores.
Yeah.
And then I'll take a shower tonight. I'll do my hair tonight, and then I'll self-tan.
We're gonna have to share a link for whatever your self-tanner is in the show notes.
I will. I use Tanologist is what it's called.
Tanologist. Is that like Amazon, Target?
I always get it at Target. I'm sure that they sell it at every single like big product. Oh, I know that they have it at Walmart for sure.
Okay.
But it's a really, really big brand. Okay. And I love it so much. It's like $10 for the bottle, but then the bottle lasts you for a really, really long time. And you can either get a spray one and then rub that in, or you can get a mousse one. I like the mousse better because I can see it visually, whereas the spray, I'm like, I don't know if I got that spot. But with the mousse, I'm like, oh yeah, that looks like a little glistening. And
lovely.
Yeah, I love that.
Awesome. Well, I think that wraps up our habits.
It does. Yeah. That was everything I had to share.
Your one habit that you can implement this week is visiting our Instagram page every day. Yes. That's my segue into reminding you about our holiday giveaway. Again, this is the last week to participate. We're going to announce the winner next week. So, as always, thanks so much for tuning in. If you feel like this episode was helpful for you or could be helpful for a friend or loved one, please share it with them. Be like, girl, guy, friend, I want to get on the habit train in 2025.
Help me get my shit together.
Yes. That's what this episode's here to help you do. So let us know what you'll be implementing, improving, and emptying. We love to hear from you. As always,
thanks for tuning in, guys.
Cheers.